Hi, shalom everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Uh, but good evening here from Israel, and to all of our guests and people in Israel. We all know, and we just want to let you guys know, it's we were here a week ago, same time, same webinar channel, and it was a very, very different kind of evening. We are now post-war and out of our shelters and not necessarily even being having to be near them. Ceasefire has been going on for a few days now, and we're just happy to be back with some incredible nature content, trying to provide you as we always do. And we're here with Yuval Dax. Many of you have seen him. Yes, hello, Helen, and please let us know where you're tuning in from. Um, Really hope we share a great and quiet and visually beautiful next hour together. I'm Jay Shofet, Chevra Laganat Teva. This is our webinar series. We do live webinars every Sunday night Israel time during let's call it the academic year. We'll be on a little bit of a hiatus for the summer. Um, Thinking about considering podcast. Hello, Bobby. A lot of people who are here all the time, Nancy, and from Michigan and from Manchester, and all the places you guys tune in from. It makes us feel great to see this and to feel your presence in our work in all the ways we can. And this is a great engagement for us, uh, and we hope very much for you. Yuval has a lot of photographs to show us tonight. Uh, Yuval Dax is he's an award-winning photographer and videographer. He's a longtime SPNI staff member. Um, Yuval is at his home in Modi'in tonight, and we'll get going in just about a minute or two. People are still coming in. Uh, Thank you all for letting us know where you're from and from saying hi. If you have questions during the webinars, I'm probably not going to interrupt Yuval very much for it, but if you put them questions in the Q&A, it's best. We'll try to follow the chat as well, but feel free to let us know. Hello, Howard in Toronto. We always have a good Toronto group, and Olympia, Washington. Great to see everybody here. And Yuval will give it one more minute and get going.
Sure.
White Plains, my neck of the woods. I'm from Dutchess County, New York, here in Israel. Oh, some 37 years in Tel Aviv, parking lot behind me. Here now in South Tel Aviv near the Carmel Market. Yuval is home at his Modi'in, at his home in Modi'in. And a week ago, we were all concerned about whether we'd be interrupting this for a siren and where people were and whether they were filming it from their mamad, their safe rooms or not. But hopefully that is all behind us. Hey, Poughkeepsie people. Um, so, I think with very little further ado, I will again introduce Yuval Dax, a longtime SPNI employee and great, a guy who's always out there in the field with his camera, with his drones, with his videography, showing us the kind of nature that we in Tel Aviv uh, don't see as often as Yuval. And we're very grateful for that. He's got a diary of the last challenging year or so. He'll be showing us a lot of beautiful pictures of Israeli nature, and I understand perhaps a few other photos that highlight the challenges more. So, Yuval, thank you very, very much. And thank you, Alen and Mab, from doing the back office in their homes in Tzor Adasa and in Moshav in the central area of Israel. Both of you, thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for being here and for letting us know where you're from and for keeping in touch. Really appreciate it. Hi, Yuval.
AJ, thanks a lot. And think without further ado, I'll just jump into it and I'll share my PowerPoint show. Um, just a minute. Tell me if you can see it.
Okay. Yeah. you could make it full screen though. Yep.
So when do you see it? Is it
Yep.
fine?
Yep. It's great. Perfect.
So I'll just start telling my story. When I was asked to kind of show pictures from the last year, I started thinking about what kind of year was it, and then I realized how different this year was comparing to other years in Israel. And I'll start from the end and then go back and then go forward again. So these pictures were taking, all the pictures in this PowerPoint show tonight were taken by me in the last year or so. And during my work as a SPNI member, I work in the Society for Protection of Nature in the birding center, in the Israeli birding center. And what you see here in this picture is a kind of part of a missile, intercepting missile that fell in the middle of Dan Metropolitan in a special park called the Ariel Sharon Park, where we as the SPNI are conducting a survey, a bird survey, following the development of this site. This park is a park that was once a kind of a rubbish dump, and now it's becoming a beautiful wetland. We're doing a kind of a restoration project, a rewilding project, and this interceptor was just fell on the ground. And this is my reality in the last year. You can see my family in the safe room. You never know when it's going to catch you. You might be in the shower, you might be brushing your teeth, and suddenly you have to go to the safe room. And on the right, I was doing a bird ringing session in the Jerusalem Bird Observatory. Early morning, suddenly you hear the sirens in Jerusalem, and then you have to go to the safe room. You see all the volunteers and staff waiting quietly in the safe room until it's safe to come out. They hold the bags with the birds with them, waiting something like 10 minutes until you can come out. This is what I found after the war, when I came for the first time to the northern part of Israel. I kind of didn't visit that part of Israel. It was under war. And when I came to the Hermon mountain on the border with Lebanon and Syria, I found out that the beautiful nature reserve that was once there became a kind of army base. The army had to prepare kind of parking places for the vehicles, the tanks, and in the middle of the nature reserve. So this is what I found when I was driving around the mountains in the north next to the Hula Valley. I found forests that were completely burned to ashes. You can see the pine forests here. They were burnt because of bombs falling from the sky, and the explosion made the fire. The explosion made the fires, and that was the reality in the last months. You can see, the aftermath of other fires that were caused. You can call it the global warming that creates a really, really hot weather in Israel, hot and dry weather that with strong winds, where the nature cannot kind of cope with such weather. And when there's a small fire in the forest, it expands much faster than when the weather is more regular. So this was part of the reality of the last months, but I also wanted to show you my other work that I was doing in the last year. But first of all, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, how I became SPNI member and how it all started. So I always loved nature and birds. I think since I remember myself, you can see that's me about 40 years ago, maybe, with the binoculars, heavy pair of binoculars and the field guide, and trying to look for a bird in some place in Israel, Makad Michael. And 40 years forward, I found myself becoming a bird watcher, like a full-time bird watcher, a wildlife photographer, and SPNI employee, kind of spending my time trying to protect nature and wildlife. And in the last years, I started to kind of become more and more interested into not only birds, but also other kinds of wildlife, mammals. I realized in the COVID times a couple of years ago that, you know, there are so many mammals around. And in the last year, I was kind of approached by a production company that asked me to start filming the wildlife of Israel, most of all the desert wildlife we have in Israel. And when I was approached by the producer, Henry, what he told me was, I was asking him, you know, Israel is under war. Why are you so interested in the Israeli wildlife? This is the producer that came to Israel under all these war times, in the middle of these war times, to film together with me wildlife in Israel. And Henry, the producer, he told me, you know, when you look for a wildlife, special wildlife, desert wildlife in the Middle East, Israel is the best country for wildlife, and everyone knows it in the kind of filming industry. Everyone knows Israel is the best place for finding wildlife stories, and that's how I found you. That's what he told me, and we started a kind of an adventure looking for mammals in Israel in the desert, and that's what I want to show you in this short webinar. The first bird that I was kind of trying to document was the McQueen's bustard. We have a very small population of bustards in Israel. This bird is very famous for its special dance. It has a very special kind of display in the early spring, where the male does an amazing behavior of really dancing in the desert. You see kind of a fluffy white and black ball in the desert moving, but there's so much more to it. You can see how much energy this bird invests in this display dance. And in fact, what it's trying to do, as I see it, is trying to kind of dance without looking forward, because the ball of feathers doesn't let it see where the stones are. So it becomes a really kind of funny dance where sometimes this bird is almost falling, stumbling on the stones and rocks in the desert. And the purpose of this dance is to kind of impress the female, but not only the female, but even impress the other males. And I think they have some kind of understanding between the males, which one is the best male, the best dancer. And when they decide among themselves, the male that is the winner, gets all the females to mate. And there are so many very special parts of this dance. Part of the dance is kind of taking care of the feathers and just trying to impress everyone around. This bird is being hunted by people all around the Middle East, and that's why it has become so rare. It's found only along the border with Egypt in the western part of our desert, and we're doing a very big conservation effort to enable this bird to stay there. Let's have a look. I'm not sure if you can see. Do you see it, the dance? Do you see something moving on the video?
Yes, we see it.
That's how the dance looks, and the bird, it can even make a very strange noise, like it's very deep sound from the belly, but you can hear it only if you're really close to it. When I was searching for wildlife to film, I realized all my life that's what I'm doing, like just searching for things, finding things. I sometimes bump into really special sites, like a flock of storks that landed to rest in the middle of the desert, migratory storks, or a flock of partridges, or the sand grouse that have a really unique story, like and also a very special display that not many people know about, this display in Israel. These sand grouse, they in fact fill their belly, the belly feathers, with water and carry the water to the chicks. And this is the way they keep their chicks alive in the hot summer days. And many of the pictures and videos I've done this year were done through surveys. We're doing a big effort to save birds, especially birds of prey. This is Noam Weiss, my colleague, with Nature and Parks Authority warden, trying to look for a raptor's nest. And when I was participating in these surveys, I had the chance to film a lot of special behaviors of birds of prey, and also raptors, like the vultures, the griffin vultures, and the Egyptian vultures. And one of the birds I love most is the golden eagle and the Bonelli's eagle, which we have not more than 10, 20 pairs nesting in this country. Part of my work is sitting really quietly in a hide, being seeing and not being seen, trying to stay as quiet as possible, and hoping for something to appear, like this Egyptian vulture or the golden eagle in this early morning light. This is a little bit of our landscapes and wildlife we have in Israel. The vultures nesting on the cliffs. So part of the work is really joining the wardens in the desert and helping them to first of all, find the birds and try to monitor their um, their situation, like this falcon, just spending a lot of time in the desert wadis. This Barbary falcon is one of our birds of prey that is its population is kind of going down because it's being hunted around the Middle East, hunted for falconry. Um, so some of the birds are in fact their population is starting to grow in Israel, like these Egyptian vultures that nowadays you can sometimes see 30 Egyptian vultures in one place, which is really, really heartwarming. And when the vultures start coming to a feeding station, we have feeding stations in the desert, especially built for feeding the birds of prey. Then you see an amazing sight of all the vultures coming together, like this cinereus vulture, the Egyptian vulture, and the griffin vulture, all together in the desert. And this is one of the most amazing sights I was lucky to see. We're doing a really, really big efforts to save these vultures that suffer from electrification and poisoning. Part of the work we did this year was monitoring the vultures, tagging them and putting transmitters on them, releasing them back to nature, like this griffin vulture. So this is a short video showing a little bit of the wildlife we have here in a feeding station. Another bird of prey is the golden eagle. And what we do is trying to monitor the nestlings. It's really hard. This bird is it's really hard to find. We have not more than 10 pairs in Israel. It's like a needle in a haystack to find this bird nesting in our desert. But when you find a nest with the chicks, there's nothing better than that. And what we do is, we tag the birds and put a transmitter on their back and this enables us to protect them. Not every nest is succeeding, like this nest where you see the adults, the parents just left the eggs and didn't manage to build a nest on this year. But when you look at golden eagle female nesting, that's really a really good feeling. This is a golden eagle that is kind of chased by a pair of ravens. And you can see all kinds of threats we have in Israel for the birds of prey. People are trying to even steal the eggs from the nest. Sometimes they watch the nest and try to steal the eggs or the chicks from the nest. They just enjoy trying to raise them at home, but of course it doesn't work. Some eagles stand on electric wires, and that's very dangerous for them. I'll just go a little bit further. We have a lot of other wildlife also at nighttime, the desert owl, which was a really, really special project. And one of the projects I was involved in this year was trying to document the fox. We have the Arabian fox, which is an amazing animal. Very, very cute, and it's similar to the red fox in Europe, but it looks smaller and has a more sandy color. And of course, the backdrop of the desert is really special. This is a kind of typical habitat for this special animal. And when I was trying to document them, I realized how interesting their life is. Like this male that was collecting, like did shopping in the supermarket, collected so many animals and put all of them in his mouth. I wonder how he managed to catch so many animals in one morning, like chicks of partridge and hyrax, so many food coming for the um, cubs. And you can see the mother when she kind of feeds the young. I don't envy this mother with all these tiny cubs. They can feed up to 6, 7 cubs, which is unbelievable. This is a cub, small cub, staring out of the den. And these cubs, when I was kind of documenting, were really, really cute. And they had a kind of a morning routine. Every morning they were waking up, starting to play. First thing, they just started to play and were kind of playing with fighting each other. They loved fighting each other and trying to protect one spot. Each cub wants to protect one spot and chase the other cubs away from it. And everything is legitimate. When you're fighting, you can bite your brother's legs and ears and neck, and but they do it as a game. And the more the merrier. Sometimes you can see 4, 5, 6 cubs playing together, trying to bite each other, which was really, really fun to look at. And some other species I was documenting this year were the jackal, which is a bit larger. We have a huge population of jackals in Israel, a really special animal, very social animal. They also can live inside the cities in Israel. We have the best population of urban jackals in the world. And when I'm showing you pictures, I'd love to hear questions from the audience. Any questions you have, I'd love to answer in the end. If you have any general questions, I'm open to answer. As you see, this mammal is a bit bigger than the jackal. The animal in the right is bigger than the jackal on the left. And this is, of course, the Arabian wolf, which Israel has maybe one of the best populations of Arabian wolves in the world. Anyone who wants to film Arabian wolves will come to Israel to film them, although they call it the Arabian wolf and the Arabian fox, but in fact, Israel is the best place for these Arabian animals, which is a kind of paradox. And together with the production company, I was filming the wolves, and this animal is a really, really unique creature. It's much smaller than the other wolves in Europe. Every animal in the desert is smaller, but it has a lot of character, like this wolf staring at the camera. And they are the best runners, and in nature they can chase gazelles. They're built to run for long distances, to try and make their prey tired like a gazelle, and when the gazelle gets tired, the wolf can take it. Here you see the mother with the cub, which was really cute. And the most interesting thing is the kind of interactions of animals when they kind of meet in the desert, which is really, really rare, like this wolf family and the vultures. And and sometimes the strange thing about wolves is that sometimes in Israel they look black or reddish brown, which is really, really strange. And this is a special phenomena of wolves interbreeding with dogs in Israel. So we have so many stray dogs that some wolves just have no one to mate with, so they mate with a stray dog, and that's the result. A wolf and a combination of a wolf and a dog in the same animal, which is really special. But of course, it's called gene. It's bad for nature, of course, because the the original wolf is kind of starting to disappear. Um, and the hair, this is the wolf on the right side, but the wolf is staring at some really, really strange animal, which has a huge, how do you say, mane on the back. I wonder if somebody can identify this mammal that has such a strange kind of fur on its back. And this animal is, we call it the sanitary of the desert, the sanitary of mammals. And it has really, really strange ears. People say it's a combination of a donkey and a cat or a wolf. And in fact, this animal is called the striped hyena. Uh, Again, Israel is one of the best places, if not the best place, for striped hyenas. And I found myself documenting and filming this animal in this last year. It has a lot of character, the striped hyena. I look at this, how do you say, male that has so many scars on its head, scars from maybe fighting with other hyenas, fighting with wolves, or whomever wants to fight with. Um, Many people don't know anything about hyenas. They kind of mix the hyena, the striped hyena, with other animals. So just to make things kind of put things in order, we have four hyenas in the world, but our hyena is called the striped hyena, and it's totally different than the hyena you maybe have seen in Africa. It's not the hyena from the Lion King, which is called the spotted hyena, but it's the striped hyena, which is a bit smaller, but still huge. The hyena has so many like myths and mythology around it, and legends, and it has a kind of a bad reputation as an animal that comes at night to graveyards. But in fact, it's an amazing animal. You can see the hyena here with a jackal. Look at the sizes, the difference in sizes, and it has an amazing behavior, like the ability to look bigger when it kind of how do you see makes it fur uh, up, and the fur is showing the kind of the what it feels. I mean, if the hyena is looking bigger with the fur, it means it's excited or afraid. These hyenas were eating my camera traps. You can see a camera trap up on the upper left. This is how I kind of track the animals, what they do at night when I'm not there. And they have an amazing ability to carry food. They can carry food which is kind of equal to their weight, which is unbelievable, because they have such strong legs, for kind of forward legs. And sometimes it can kind of balance the weight on only two legs. I mean, it can walk on two legs, balancing the weight from behind and forward. It's a really unique animal that has an amazing ability to hear. It has huge ears, much bigger than any fox or wolf, and of course, huge jaws. You can see the jaws. They love to eat knuckles. They can find a knuckle of a cow, which is huge. It's the size of a tennis ball, and just kind of munch it and eat it just for the fun. Um, so it's in fact a really cute animal. People are afraid of them, but I think they're fairy and cute. There's nothing more cute than a hyena, like the hyena here. And I wonder if anyone knows what's behind the rock. You can see the ears of the caracal. That's another animal that I was filming. Again, we have the Arabian caracal, and Israel is the best place for the caracal. You can see the caracal arriving at night towards the camera. It's our biggest cat, and you can see a caracal that is trying to take a wild ibex that was caught on a fence, which is amazing how a smaller animal is trying to take a bigger animal. So this animal is really special, but really very elusive and very hard to film. And I all the caracals I was filming were kind of photographed with remote cameras. I put remote cameras because seeing this animal with my eyes is so hard that I just gave up. It's just impossible to see this animal. You have to take pictures of it with remote cameras, and these in fact are the almost on the only documentation of this animal in Israel. So you can see how this amazing cat is just kind of approaching a tree and scratching its, how do you say, nails on the tree, just like any cat. When I showed it to my sister, Nurit, she told me, "Why are you doing such a big effort for a cat? You know, I have a cat at home scratching the sofa. I mean, what's so special?" But when you look at the eyes and the ears, you can realize it's such an amazing animal. So this is the Kalkal with the amazing eyes, amazing hearing, and the ability to jump upwards, forwards. It's a kind of superhero of the animal world of Israel. While I was trying to film them, the camera caught even drug smugglers that were on their way to smuggle drugs. You can see the drug smugglers on the upper picture. They're wearing like coats not to be seen by the thermal cameras. The coat kind of insulates their heat, even in the summer days. And then the thermal cameras of the army cannot see the drug smuggler when it's walking next to the border in the desert. So another animal that I was filming was the porcupine, which is an amazing animal. I'm just showing you some pictures really quickly. It's really hard to take pictures of this animal in daytime and see the kind of behavior of this animal, but I realized it has an amazing behavior. It's very social, very hard to see these animals together and what they do together, how they take care of their young, like this porcupine cub. How does a porcupine cub drink milk? That's a good question. So the answer you can say is very carefully. The mother has a really long, how do you call it? Forgot the word, but it just everything is different in
Teat,
the animal. Yeah,
the teat,
exactly.
yes, teat, T-E-A-T.
Exactly. And thanks, Jay. And I'm just going quickly through so many wild animals we have here, like the Dorcas gazelles that have their kind of fights in the desert. And the oryx. Another project was I was asked this year by the director Terrence Malick to film wildlife in Israel for a new film that hasn't been published yet. It's going to be a film about the life of Jesus, and he asked me to film the oryx and the ibex. We have an amazing project here of oryx being released back to nature, and Israel is becoming the best place to see oryx, the Arabian oryx in the Middle East. Again, an Arabian animal, and Israel is the best place to see it. The ibex, I was filming the ibex in Mitzpe Ramon. The ibex, Israel is kind of a big, you can call it a Noah's Ark, where we kind of preserve all the animals for the Middle East. And when the countries around us will be ready to accept these animals, will help other countries around us to try to reintroduce them back to nature. But of course, we have our own issues with wildlife like these ibex that learned that it's sometimes easier to find food in a rubbish bin in the city than in nature. This is how it should look in a nature reserve. And if I want to jump kind of forward and try and do a quick kind of conclusion. I started this year with the bombing and the burnt forests and the ammunition I found, lying on the ground, bombs lying on the ground from all the attacks, all this war. But I realized that we've done so many amazing projects this year with the Society for Protection of Nature, even though we were under kind of a really intensive war in the last year or so, we still kept promoting our nature conservation projects. Here you see my colleague Nadav Israeli standing with burnt trees in the background, trees that were burnt in the war. And he's involved in rewilding a complex of fish ponds in the northern part of Israel next to the border with Syria and Lebanon. And this project is going to be one of our kind of flagship projects of the Society for Protection of Nature. And another place.
Yuval, about 10 minutes.
Thanks a lot. I'll finish even earlier.
Great.
Another project is, conserving places on the border with Israel where you have minefields, but that's where the best nature in Israel is lying. You can see the SPNI staff trying to, protect these areas next to the border with Syria. These areas are, people want to put solar energy panels, and we're trying to preserve these places and keep them as wild as possible. Here's Nadav rewilding another spot in the Beit She'an Valley next to the border with Jordan. What he's doing is kind of releasing the dam, opening the dam, which will flood a whole area with water. An area which was kind of deserted, dry, is becoming a wetland again. Wetlands are so much needed in Israel, which is such a dry place. What we're doing is rewilding these places that were once swamps, became fish ponds, and then deserted, and now we are trying to reflood these areas and create these amazing wetlands like you see in the picture. We managed to even do events like birding events, wildlife conservation events, like this amazing bird race, the Champions of the Flyway, where we collected even more attendance, more participants, more Israeli participants than in any other year. We managed to do a huge event in Israel, even when there was danger of war. And we even had a lot of participants from outer countries, a lot of women, a lot of Arab participants, and Bedouin participants, and it was a really amazing event. We managed to do a lot of birding activities, showing the public uh, our amazing wildlife, taking people outdoors. You can see the birding club. We have our Israeli birding club. People just going outdoors and enjoying nature. Um, and I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you to all my kind of colleagues. All this project of wildlife filming, you cannot do it alone. You need people that will help you and guide you and work together with you. And that's the secret, in fact, not just doing a good work, but being able to do cooperation with many, many other professional people, all the wardens, the national park wardens, and the other wildlife photographers I was working with. And I just wanted to say thank you for listening, and hope nobody fell asleep. And if there's any question from the audience, I'd be glad to answer. I'll do a stop share now.
Okay.
Check.
Thank you, Yuval. Yes, there are some questions. Fascinating. I have a couple of questions of my own, but we'll get to that if we have time. How do you photograph the bustards? Was there a hide? What lens size did you use? Getting kind of technical, but you think there's a lot of people interested.
What I use is a really, really long lens. You call it long lens. It's a telephoto lens where you can just film the animals and wildlife from a really, really long distance. The wildlife photography equipment nowadays is getting better and better. And this enables you to film the animals um, in their element without interrupting their, behavior. Of course, I use a lot of hides and a lot of special equipment, and all this enables me. And especially need a lot of patience and luck, a lot of luck.
Interesting. A couple of questions and a lot of interest on the urban jackals. What cities are they in? Do they cause any kinds of issues? And one of our viewers, Miriam, writes about in Germany, people are still quite frightened and horrified about jackals and wolves. Um, she'd be interested in how the Israelis react to urban jackals. And I'll just add, I remember reading years ago, probably 20 years ago, about the wolves that live in the subways in Chicago. And I'm just wondering, do jackals live underground in our cities in any of the tunnels and stuff like that?
So first of all, the jackals, they deserve a special webinar because it's an amazing story. I didn't think jackals are so special because, this is a kind of an invasive species in Israel. But when I was approached by the BBC producer that was interested in wildlife, he told me, I did a research and I found out that from all over the world, Israel is the best place to film the jackals. Yeah, we have a community of jackals living in the center of Tel Aviv city. We have a park, urban park, where you can see jackals just walking next to you. And the beautiful thing about Israel is that most of the people, we don't hunt animals. We have a lot of respect, basic respect for animals in the sense of not hunting them. So many animals do feel very comfortable next to people. And of course, they might cause sometimes, some people are afraid from them, but many other people just even feed them, which is of course not allowed, but people understand that they're not dangerous. It's just a small dog.
Cool. And so, I mean, I know, for a fact they're in Tel Aviv. I think I've read about Petah Tikva. Where else are the jackals in cities in Israel?
Well, in fact, they're starting to be found in any place, in any city in Israel. They're found in any city in the agriculture places. Originally, this animal is connected to water. It likes water, but because we have so many irrigation projects all over the country, you can find this animal even in the desert nowadays. And any big city has jackals, but in Tel Aviv, you'll even see them in daylight.
Yep. Very interesting. It's in general, urban nature is something that Israelis, partly because we in SPNI are pushing it forward as a major field of our work, that I think Israelis and especially the city mayors and city leaders are becoming more and more aware of how important that is for to help create a healthy city. Um, um, can you find the Arabian jackal around Haifa and in the Carmel?
Jackals, yeah,
Yeah.
Haifa is
Oh, Arabian wolf. I'm sorry, Arabian wolf.
it's easier to find them in the desert, some desert places next to settlements in the Arava. We have the Arava Valley in the southern part of Israel and the Judean desert. That's the place for wolves.
I have to say I've long known, at least long known since I've been in SPNI, that we are such a global hotspot for photographing birds. The species that you can see in a small area and over a short amount of time are incredible. But you've enlightened us that for the canine and feline wild mammals, at least I think you talked about the wolves, the jackals, uh, the Caracal, and the Ibex, all global centers for, for if you really want to film these animals in the wild, this is where you come. I never knew that. That's amazing.
I was surprised by myself, and in fact, I learned it, and I was told all these things by people coming from abroad. I mean, I had to hear it from producers from outer countries how much our wildlife is special because the thing is that sometimes we take things for granted when you live in Israel and you see the gazelle walking next to the road or the ibex walking next to you, you take it for granted. You think maybe it's the same all over the world, but there's no other place where you can see foxes in daylight like in Israel and wolves and all these animals next to the road. Israel is like one big nature reserve. Uh, you can see animals from the road, like in Kruger Park, for example. We're the Kruger Park of the Middle East.
It's because we're kind of small, I guess, because if you're driving on roads in Saudi Arabia or, other parts of the Arabian Peninsula, you could be, there's hundreds of kilometers of desert without roads. So presumably that's where those animals are. Is that kind of what you're saying, no?
No, it's not connected to the
It's
size,
not
but
connected. And I would also wonder if it's partly because it's just harder to film in those places logistically than it is to film in Israel in terms of permits, in terms of, I don't know, logistics. So they prefer to film in Israel for that reason as well. What do you
that's
think?
true. That's also true. But people always complain how Israel is expensive.
That's
So,
true.
so I mean, it's just so easy, so much more easy. And I keep hearing it from the producers I work with. They tell me, Israel is so easy. We not only comparing to the Middle East, but if even comparing to Central Asia. Some animals are found in Central Asia too, like the hyena, but they won't even try to look for it because these animals were hunted for so many generations that they will run away from kilometers. And in Israel, you can see these animals, from the road, which
Wow.
which
Right.
shows that they're kind of tame. They became tame. Many animals became tame and
Um,
uh, where
right.
to be.
Um, the question about if any of these animals you've mentioned attack domestic animals, has that become a problem in Israel yet? I know feral dogs have become a problem, but any of these wild animals?
So It's true, but just the opposite. I mean, most of the time, the domestic animals are the ones who attack the wild animals. For example, the feral dogs are a big problem
Right.
in Israel. We have maybe 30,000 feral dogs, which is
Wow.
much too much, maybe more. And we are not doing anything about it. So these feral dogs are chasing the gazelles and they eat the cubs of the tiny animals like the caracal, and they eat anything. The feral dogs, they eat the birds, and the same for the cats, the feral cats. We have cats that eat, any wild animal. Birds, they eat the birds. So nature is kind of under a lot of threats in Israel.
Hmm. Um, Somebody asked, what's your favorite animal and why? If you can, if you can
Well,
choose.
I was hoping you won't ask because I have a big dilemma. It depends on the time. I had a period when it was the caracal, when I was dreaming about the caracal. If I couldn't fall asleep, I would start dreaming how the caracal is coming towards me. And now my dreams are about the hyenas. I'm dreaming about hyena walking in the desert and me catching, the perfect frame. So
Wow. Yeah, I noticed that you called it the cutest animal, not a and that's kind of a hot take on the hyena, I think. Although Ruthie the hyena, as we know, and you live in Modi'in, Ruthie the hyena was a popular, beloved mascot of your city, which we tried to protect, and which ultimately, it's just a tragedy of the animals living so close to men, to humans. We tend to kill them rather than they harm us.
yeah, but again, these hyenas, if I every time I see this animal, my breath stops because it's so big, and when it looks at you, it stares at you. It's a kind of you feel how do you say, you under a spell. It puts a spell on you,
Wow.
really.
Amazing. By the way, speaking of numbers, about how many caracal are there in Israel? You say it's so elusive and there's very little documentation, but are we down to like, under 100? Or how's it
Uh,
doing?
Well, people say it's a little bit more than 100, not more than 200,
Wow.
but they're spread all over the country, and maybe it's a bigger population than in the countries around us. So
Wow.
this animal in general is its population is going down. It gets road killed. It gets eaten. The cubs are eaten by jackals.
It's mostly in the desert or it's around other habitats as well. Is it in the Galil at all?
In the past, this animal was living in any place. It can live even in Turkey, in a forest in Turkey. But the deserts are the kind of last, how do you say, place where nobody, people just let them live. So they're found mostly in the desert, but in the past they were found in any place.
Wow. I noticed in your one of your quick photographs, you went very quickly through a caracal showing it leaping in the air, catching a bird. If that from the Steinhardt Museum of Natural History in Tel Aviv, you took that picture. I'll give that place a shout out. I was just there on Shabbat with my grandkids, and if you don't mind seeing a lot of stuffed animals, animals that to mostly, in my opinion, were probably hunted, but otherwise died and are now stuffed and on display. If you don't mind that, it's really got a large collection of animals, and they jam so much stuff into the top floor there. I hadn't been there in a year or two, and I see it's a lot. It's interesting to see the animals that used to live here, and many some of them still do.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's such a beautiful collection. It's the best natural history museum in the Middle East, of course. And it's so important because most people are not exposed to wildlife and nature at all. And the museum is where they can see, these animals. And sometimes you just have to show someone the animal, just point at it, and the rest comes naturally. Like
For
when people
sure.
realize it's there, the nature is there, they start preserving it.
Right, right. Wait, let's see. Do we have any more questions here? Migration of honey buzzards. Are they still migrating? Have you viewed that?
Yeah, we have this honey buzzard. We have the biggest population of migratory honey buzzards in Israel. We're a little bit past the spring migration. They finished migrating in beginning of June. But Israel definitely is the best place to see honey buzzards. Eilat Mountains in the spring, and the more central parts of Israel in the autumn.
Um, okay, we're really at our last minute, but there are a couple quick questions. One of them I'll just answer unless you have, is there a formal effort for reforestation in the burned forests of the north? If there is, we're fighting it. I don't think anything's been formalized yet, and we recommend very much doing nothing for the first year or so after a fire, observing, monitoring. We'll see what happens. We're not in charge, unfortunately. And about that, you mentioned it. You just tossed it off that we're doing nothing about the feral dog population. Is that the Nature and Parks Authority, the Ministry of Agriculture? Whose responsibility is it? And I assume SPNI is lobbying. I know we've been very worried about it since the war started.
That's a really big issue. The problem is in the past the NPA, the Nature and Parks Authority, had the hunters that were shooting down these feral dogs, and there's no other way to deal with it. Just you have to shoot them down. But nowadays we have so
Cull
many.
them. We say cull them is the word in English. It's the euphemistic cull, cull them. Mhm.
We call them, and nowadays we have a lot of rejection of this kind of culling,
Right,
and so we have a lobby against it,
right.
and there's no alternative solution. So nobody's taking care of them.
There you go. That's too bad. Well, that's a bummer of a note, but mostly this webinar was an incredible hour of feeling good about Israeli nature and feeling good as an SPNI employee that this is what we get up and do every day. And I hope all of you from Norway to Wales to, I don't know, at least 15, 20 different states around the country, in other places enjoyed it as well. We have Yuval on at least a couple times a year, so we'll make sure we will have you back at some point. Whenever you tell us you have new material you want to show us. And this will be recorded, of course, and online. Thank you very much, Alen, for your back office work today, and Nama as well. Yuval, appreciate it very much. Thank everybody there abroad, and Lila Tov, and have a good night, good day, and we'll see everybody. Keep posted on our website and our emails, and we'll let you know what's upcoming. Bye, Ellen. Thank you very much. To everybody who's thanking us. Really appreciate
Thanks a
it.
lot.
Okay.
Goodbye.